Okay, hi, summer class for KNES 235. This is our last recorded lecture for the summer, second 5-week session. The topic is stress management. So I'm going to start off with some definitions of stress. We're all familiar with the term stress, but we probably, like a lot of people, misuse it because we think of stress as always being negative and bad for us. And in reality, stress is just a neutral term. It's not bad, it's not good, it's not positive, not negative. It's neutral. What it is describing the physiological response to whatever's causing that response. So the name we're going to learn about in this lecture that is describing the cause of the stress response is referred to as the stressor. The stress response is the physiological response that the body goes through. And we can come up with a lot of examples like sweating, dry mouth, muscle twitches, tension, stomach aches, headaches. Those are all stress reactions. So there's no good or bad referred to as stress. I put a roller coaster up there because a lot of people have really happy and excited feelings, about roller coasters, and other people are like, oh my gosh, scary, sick feelings. Same feelings, different term that describes what makes it positive, what makes it negative. The feelings are neutral. So now we're getting into the terms of what makes it positive, what makes it negative. Eustress is something that increases your performance, motivates, feels exciting. You're excited about that roller coaster. You're standing in line for like an hour, but you're going through all these physiological responses. The same physiological responses that somebody who's sick about it is standing in line. So the roller coaster could be a eustress example for somebody who's excited about it, or it could be a distress example for somebody who's in line just to make their family happy but is really sick about it. So that's the difference between a positive, increasing, motivating, still having that stress response example, and a negative, feeling unpleasant, leading to health problem, distress. So the pictures I have here, obviously, is a graduation cap. Some of you may be graduating. I just heard that Towson University is going to have their spring graduation that was postponed in May of 2020 because of the COVID. They have rescheduled it for October. So those of you that are seniors, check the TU webpage. If you were supposed to graduate in May and have a celebration at CQ, they're going to have it on the Johnny Unitas Stadium field in October. I think it's like the 9th or 10th. So check on that. You might be hearing it first from me. Graduations are eustress examples. Dance recitals, sporting events, piano recitals, any type of performance, theater. You're having the stress physiological responses, but they're positive. Car accidents, failing school, failing a class, not having enough credits to graduate, that's all could be distress. And I think I'm going to have to get a new computer for the fall. So, which is not stressful, but financial wellness. So the physiological responses, I mentioned some of them a couple slides back. Quickening of your pulse, heart beating fast, so you kind of feel it beating out of your chest. Burst of adrenaline, sweaty palms, dry mouth, headaches, stomach aches, things I mentioned before. That is like the definition of stress. I mentioned what stressors are. Now I'm going to teach you all about 3 categories of stressors. The categories kind of remind me of the dimensions of wellness in a way. You'll notice some similarity in the terms. But there are 3 categories of stressors. First one, there are no particular order, but emotional stressors do seem to be the most prevalent. Lots of examples that you can think of: work, school, family, moving, job relocations, things like that, or can be referred to as emotional stressors, major life events. If you made a list of your stressors at the moment, probably many of them would fit into the emotional stressor category. It does seem to be the most prevalent. The second category that's probably, I mean, there's no in terms of importance. It's just where the stressors fit into. So the second category are physiological stressors, which would be sudden illness or injury, broken leg, the virus, um, something that's going to affect your health in a negative way, or disease, debilitating conditions. Those are referred to as physiological stressors. Environmental stressors. That's why I said it kind of reminds me of the wellness dimensions in a way, but there's only three. Environmental stressors can be described as noise, traffic, even quiet. I have a cousin that lives on a farm, and her kids seem to exhibit physiological stress responses when they're in the city because they're not used to the noise. But then on the flip side of that, our kids and my kids, my sister's kids, they get stressed when they're in the quiet and nothing's happening. So depending on your familiarity with your environment can be stressful. Air pollution, crowding, terrorism, natural disasters, extreme temperatures. We come up with a lot of examples that would fit into the category of environmental stressors. So we have emotional stressors, physiological stressors, and environmental stressors. And these are all things that cause the quickening of the pulse and the sweaty palms and the muscle tension and things that we refer to as the neutral examples of stress. And then we look at it and say, is it positive? Is it negative? Positive, it's eustress. Negative, it's distress. So now we've established what stress is. The rest of our lecture is like, okay, what's stress management? Because nobody is stress-free, and that's not a desirable way to be. Because stress is just challenging and throwing your body off a little bit, but it can be positive and negative. So you don't want to have absolutely nothing happening, because then you would be bored and there would be complications from having nothing happening. So I like to teach the 4 A's of stress management. The book that I use talks about active coping with your stress and also passive coping. So an example of the 4 A's is avoid and altering are things that fall into the active coping category. If you're able to remove yourself from the situation, or you're able to change it in some way, it's like a problem-solving type of thing. I have a stressor. I've identified what the stressor is. I can move myself from that stressor, and that takes care of my stress response. That's avoiding, altering. All right, the other 4 A's are the examples of what the book would refer to as passive coping, where you're not able to problem solve, you're not able to remove it. Sometimes you're not even able to identify the stressor. You just know that you're having these responses in your body. Passive coping is not really like rolling over and just letting things happen. It's being able to adapt and accept whatever is happening, and you're not able to remove yourself from the stressor, but you need to deal with how to react to it. So I have a picture here of, and the picture before was of Step Brothers, just because there was a scene in the movie where they kept running into the same stressful situation with these kids that were bullying them, and the mother said, have you ever thought about changing your route? And they looked at each other and said, oh, we talked about that. So that was an example of active coping, avoiding the situation. Adapting and accepting, this massage chair reminds me of that, because if you're having a really maybe negative, stressful, stressor that's affecting your health, a good way to deal with it is kind of like, okay, it's not going to go away, but I can kind of take care of myself and do something that's going to help me get my mind off of it for a while so that I can be refreshed and able to deal with whatever it is, because I cannot remove myself from that situation. change how you react to it, and you have to kind of accept it so that it does not make you sick. Okay, so this is a little shorter than if we were face-to-face. That's why in my announcements I always say, ask questions, email me. I'm moving from stress and stress management now to time management, because a lot of times not being able to manage our time is a stressor, and it can affect us negatively. So I throw in for my students some effective time management skills. Very important, but you have to be ready and open to them. So one good thing is to determine how you spend your time. So kind of like keep a little time journal if you're having issues with managing your time, which a lot of college students do. Well, everybody does, until you find something that works for you. So keep a little journal. Identify like things that are maybe wasting your time, or procrastination, or you're not getting your tasks done in a timely manner and it's affecting you in a negative way. Learn how to use your idle time. I always tell my students, carry your books with you, keep your computer with you, bring your flashcards, have notes. If you have all of a sudden a 15-minute break that you weren't expecting, or a class gets canceled, you can use that time in a productive manner where you didn't have that time before. So use your free time wisely. My example is I'm not a morning person, so I like to plan my day the night before so that when I get up I don't feel rushed and forget something. So that's always a skill that has helped me. Setting deadlines whenever possible, which is the next slide, is going to help, especially in college if you have a big paper due or you have something due. Even this class, you guys have to keep up with the discussion boards, the assignments. Don't wait till the last minute to complete something. So that's some effective time management skills. Something that's really useful is something called, sounds very simple. Some of you may do it already. Some of you might do it in the future. ABCs. It's prioritizing, writing things down. I use Post-its. I used to put them in my office, and now that I'm working from home, I have them on my refrigerator. What is the most important thing I need to do today? What are my deadlines? What needs to be done today? That's my A list. What is the next thing that I should be doing once I have my must do done? My should do is my B list. Not as important, but I have to do it this week. My C list is, okay, least important. Let me do the A list. Let me do the B list. When I have the time and I don't feel rushed, I can do the C list, and things move up. C list is going to be A list one day. So that's your ABCs. And then we always full circle back. Physical activity, physical wellness for a healthy America. Always keep open time for daily physical activity. We have established in this class that it's not only physically important, but also emotionally important as well. So keep time open when you're doing your time management for daily physical activity. A lot of our discussion boards focus on this. Regular exercise gives you a general sense of well-being, reduces tension, anxiety, helps you with a tough class and study or work schedule. So always keep that in mind. And then sleep. This is all part of like a wellness plan. To develop a wellness plan, you have to individualize the wellness plan to yourself. There's certain common things like getting enough sleep, exercising, taking time out for stress management. That needs to be individualized. So develop a wellness plan. Get enough sleep. Be flexible. Prioritize. Do your ABC list about extracurricular. Don't overextend yourself and have too many things done, because then that's going to be negative. And be kind to yourself. That's huge. So that's my message to you guys. I would like that to be something that you keep forever from taking this class with me. There's a couple questions on the final exam that circle back to the health-related components of physical fitness. So just remember that health-related physical fitness is more important than skills. Okay, we all like to play sports and be good at athletics, but the health-related components of physical fitness are more important for our cardio and our respiratory and our flexibility and our body composition. Bye, you guys. This is the end.